Greetings, Seeker. This is one of the final timeline paths of our story. The path ends here, but if you wish to retrace your steps to the very beginning, a link to the first timeline can be found below in the description. A blinding flash, a deafening roar that tore through the fabric of your perception, and then a wrenching, visceral lurch, unlike any temporal shift you had experienced before. It was as if time itself had seized you, compressing millennia into an instant of agony, then releasing you with a violent thrust. The familiar damp chill of Britain, the distinct aroma of its bustling streets or hushed academic halls, vanished, replaced by an assault of new sensations. The air that filled your lungs was thick, dry, and impossibly warm, carrying the distinct aromas of dust, sweat, and ancient stone baked under an unforgiving sun. Sunlight, blinding and stark, assaulted your eyes as you stumbled forward, your knees weak, landing on rough-hewn cobblestones. The continuous low hum of your pocket watch, nestled in your palm, was the only familiar anchor in this overwhelming new reality. As you looked down, you noticed something peculiar. The hands of your timepiece, usually so precise, were spinning erratically, then slowly, deliberately, aligning themselves, pointing in a specific direction with an almost magnetic certainty, guiding you. It was not merely a device for travel, it was a compass to the unseen, a navigator of destiny. You were in Jerusalem. The sky above was an intense, cloudless blue, stretching endlessly. Before you, a city of dazzling white and golden stone shimmered, bathed in a light that seemed to emanate from the very earth. Kardlaspiri. Earth. The air was alive with sounds, the bleating of goats, the distant cry of merchants hawking their wares, the murmuring flow of Aramaic and Hebrew, utterly alien to your ears, yet conveying a sense of vibrant ancient life. Robed figures moved through the narrow, bustling streets, men with braided beards and women with veiled heads, their movements unhurried, their faces weathered by the sun. The scents were intoxicating, spices from faraway lands, the sweet perfume of figs, the acrid smoke from clay ovens, and an underlying pervasive aroma of human endeavor and timelessness. This was Jerusalem, in the very shadow of its greatest glory, yet subtly touched by a tremor of transition. Though the magnificent first temple, built by King Solomon himself, still gleamed on the mount, its golden roof reflecting the sun like a beacon, a palpable sense of apprehension lingered in the air. Whispers carried on the dry wind spoke of the recent passing of the great king, of a changing guard, of a vast kingdom poised on the precipice of an uncertain future. His death had been recent enough that his presence still felt tangible in the monumental architecture he had left behind, but old enough that the loss of his famed treasures, and particularly his legendary ring, was already a hushed, unsettling mystery. This was the precise temporal window you needed. Your focus narrowed. The ring, the powerful intention that had guided your timepiece, had been undeniable. It was here, somewhere beneath this ancient city. But where? The sheer scale of Jerusalem, its labyrinthine streets winding through centuries of habitation, was daunting. Yet, the watch hands pointed, unwavering. You began to move, your senses heightened, almost preternaturally aware. The sun beat down, baking the stone walls, reflecting the intense light. You navigated the bustling markets, avoiding the donkey carts laden with goods, the hawkers shouting their prices. The raw, unfiltered life of ancient Jerusalem pulsed around you, a stark contrast to the ordered chaos of your familiar modern world. You passed scribes diligently working on parchment, artisans hammering metal, women grinding grain. Every face, every detail, was a living piece of history. As you moved deeper into the city, guided by the ever-pointing hands of your timepiece, you felt an undeniable pull, a subtle resonance emanating from the east. It was a familiar sensation, akin to the hum of your pocket watch, but external, a psychic current guiding you. It led you steadily, purposefully, towards the most prominent landmark, the Temple Mount. The sheer scale of the temple was awe-inspiring. Even from a distance, its walls of massive, precisely cut stone, its grand courtyards, its shimmering golden roof, spoke of power, reverence, and unimaginable wealth. It was a testament to Solomon's wisdom and his dominion over all earthly and unseen forces. As you approached, you mingled with pilgrims and priests, laborers and citizens, all moving with a shared reverence towards the sacred precincts. The outer courtyards buzzed with activity, but as you moved closer to the inner sanctuary, a deeper quietude descended, a hushed reverence. The ring, you knew, was not just in the temple, but deeply hidden. Legends described concealed vaults, secret tunnels used for transporting treasures, or for clandestine magical workings. You had to find the unseen beneath the scene. Your timepiece's hands now pointed directly to an older, less trafficked section of the outer wall, near a crumbling section of what looked like an ancient aqueduct, partially obscured by overgrown fig trees. As your eyes scanned the area, a flicker of movement caught your attention. Rounding a distant corner, almost dissolving into the sun-drenched stones, was a figure. They were tall, draped in simple sand-colored robes that billowed slightly in the dry breeze. There was something in their stride, a certain deliberate grace, that reminded you acutely of a certain mysterious guide you had encountered in London. Was it them, here, in ancient Jerusalem? Before you could even consider calling out, the figure was gone, swallowed by the shadow of an alleyway. You pressed forward, your watch humming more urgently now, the hands pointing to the specific section of the wall where the figure had vanished. There was a faint, almost imperceptible warmth radiating from a particular section of the wall, and the air here felt subtly different, a peculiar resonance that your heightened senses detected. It was here that you saw it, not a simple crack, but a section of intricately carved, ancient stonework, almost seamlessly integrated into the massive wall. It was a hidden door, disguised by millennia of erosion and cunning design. As you ran your hands along the weathered stone, tracing faint, almost erased patterns, another fleeting glimpse, the same robed figure, now disappearing into a narrow recess just beyond the hidden door, a momentary confirmation of guidance, before they were once again gone, leaving you alone at the threshold. It felt like a deliberate, silent instruction, a confirmation that you were exactly where you needed to be. The subtle interaction, the sense of being guided by an unseen hand, sharpened your focus. It felt like a puzzle, a test. You recalled fragments from the esoteric books you had studied, the obscure texts detailing Hermetic principles, ancient Kabbalistic keys, and the hidden knowledge of elemental alignments. This wasn't about brute force, it was about understanding, about unlocking a secret that operated on a symbolic level. Your fingers found a series of raised symbols, barely distinguishable from the rough stone. These were not elements, but abstract glyphs representing concepts: command, wisdom, unity, and seal. You pressed them, not randomly, but with a deliberate sequence, guided by a sudden, intuitive understanding of the ancient principles embodied by Solomon himself. You pressed command, then wisdom, then unity, then seal, a subtle internal vibration, confirming each correct touch. With a low, grinding sigh that resonated through the very ground beneath your feet, a section of the massive wall, perhaps no larger than a man, slowly, almost imperceptibly, receded inwards, revealing a narrow, dust-filled passage. The air that rushed out was stale, heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else. Something ancient, metallic, and profoundly undisturbed, tinged with a faint, almost ethereal scent of incense. You slipped inside, the hidden door silently closing behind you with a soft click, plunging you into absolute darkness. The silence was immediate, profound, broken only by the rapid beating of your own heart. You fumbled for your pocket watch. Its soft, steady hum provided the only light, a faint, ethereal glow that barely cut through the oppressive blackness, revealing only the rough, uneven walls of a narrow tunnel. The tunnel sloped downwards, the air growing colder, denser. It felt as if you were descending into the very belly of the earth, into depths forgotten by all but legend. The walls were damp, occasionally dripping with cold water. You moved cautiously, your hand sweeping the rough stone, your ears straining for any sound. There were no obvious traps, but the sheer weight of the history, the profound isolation, felt like a warning. As you moved, the darkness began to shift, to shimmer. Not with light, but with images. You were seeing, no, experiencing fragments of King Solomon's life, flashes of his power, presented directly to your mind, unbidden. These were not mere visions, but sensory echoes imprinted upon your consciousness, the very history of the ring unfolding around you. You saw Solomon, a figure of immense wisdom and regal bearing, standing before a vast golden scaffolding, not a single human laboring, but legions of towering jinn, fiery and ethereal, their forms shifting, their hands expertly moving enormous blocks of stone into place, building the temple with impossible speed and precision. You felt the raw power of his command, the absolute obedience of the spirits, the sheer, unimaginable scale of his influence. The tunnel widened into a series of ancient, rough-hewn chambers, not carved with the precision of a craftsman, but seemingly shaped by primal force. These were not burial chambers, but vaults, their empty spaces echoing the immense wealth and power they once contained. The air here was strangely still, as if no breath had disturbed it for millennia. As you passed through each chamber, the mental visions intensified, pulling you deeper into Solomon's world. You saw Solomon again, seated on his throne, but this time, a great storm raged outside, lightning cracking, winds howling. With a mere gesture of his hand, a hand adorned with the glint of a ring, the storm subsided, the clouds parted, and the sun broke through, a testament to his dominion over the elements. You felt the subtle shift in atmospheric pressure, the calming of the chaos, the sheer, unshakable control he wielded over the natural world. Deeper and deeper you descended, relying solely on the faint glow of your timepiece, and the increasing magnetic pull that now throbbed in your very bones. The path narrowed again, becoming a claustrophobic crawl space. You pushed forward, driven by an instinct beyond reason, knowing you were close. The air grew strangely warm now, despite the depth, imbued with a dry, almost electric current. The visions continued, more personal, more intimate. You saw Solomon listening intently, his face grave, as animals spoke to him, a lion offering counsel, a bird delivering news from distant lands. You understood their languages, the subtle nuances of their communication, a profound connection to all life, a unity with the natural world that transcended human understanding. Then, a chilling flash. You saw him standing alone, his face etched with sorrow, foreseeing the distant fall of his kingdom, the destruction of his beloved temple, the eventual loss of his most prized possession. A dark prophetic sorrow that weighed heavily on his regal shoulders. And then, a new sensation, a presence, not seen, not heard with your ears, but felt directly in your mind. A chorus of voices, ancient and resonant, yet subtly malevolent, echoed within your thoughts. They were the jinn, the spirits once bound by the ring, now guarding its resting place, their resentment a palpable force. The voices seemed to shriek, a cacophony of mental sound. The king is gone, the seal is broken. You are but mortal flesh. Retreat. You pressed forward, focusing your will, ignoring the psychic assault. The pocket watch pulsed furiously in your hand, its hum intensifying, seeming to push back against the unseen resistance. The jinn, sensing your unwavering intent, shifted their tactics. Their whispers became more insidious, probing your mind, tempting, threatening. What do you seek? power. Forget your mortal weakness. We offer dominion, but at a price. Turn back. You are not worthy. You saw them now, not with your eyes but in your mind's eye. Vast, elemental forms swirling in the ethereal space around you, composed of smoke, fire, shifting shadows. They were immense, terrifying, yet still contained by an invisible barrier, a lingering echo of Solomon's command. You understood now the depth of their long-held captivity, and their desperate desire for the ring to remain lost. And then, you saw it. The passage opened into a final, small, perfectly circular chamber. In the very center, suspended in mid-air by unseen forces, a single pedestal of dark, unpolished stone rose from the floor. And upon it, bathed in a soft ethereal light that seemed to come from within itself, lay the ring. It was not overtly ostentatious. It was a ring of dark, lustrous iron, simple in its band, yet undeniably ancient. Embedded in its center was a single, large, flawless black gemstone, like a polished piece of night sky. What made it magnificent were the symbols carved into the stone, not mere decorative engravings but shifting, swirling, living glyphs that pulsed with a faint inner light. As you looked, the symbols seemed to rearrange themselves, forming intricate patterns, then dissolving, only to reform anew. You felt a profound sense of recognition, an ancient memory stirring deep within your being, as if you had seen these symbols before, in a dream, in another time. It was impossibly old, radiating a silent, immense power. It did not overtly beckon, but held an undeniable presence that filled the small chamber. The air around it felt strangely alive, vibrating with latent energy. You could feel the countless whispers of control and command it embodied, the echoes of the jinn it had once bound, the very forces it had compelled to shape cities and destinies. It was a conduit to absolute authority, a singular focus of will. Your hand trembled as you reached for it. The moment your fingers closed around the cool, smooth iron, a jolt, not of electricity, but of raw, untamed consciousness, shot through you. It was cold, yet it burned. It was silent, yet it screamed with the voices of 1,000 commanded spirits. It was empty, yet it was full of every intention, every command, every desire of its former wearer. You felt an immediate, undeniable connection to the ring, an almost symbiotic link. It pulsed in your palm, a miniature sun of condensed power, resonating with the hum of your timepiece. Two impossibly advanced technologies meeting across millennia. The Ring of Solomon, you held it, the ultimate tool of influence, of control over the unseen, of shaping the world with unyielding will. Its presence clarified everything, sharpening your senses, making the purpose of your impossible journey brutally, exhilaratingly clear. You had sought something beyond mere knowledge. You had sought the means to act. The weight of the ring settled in your palm, its power a tangible force radiating into your being. The jinn, though unseen, continued their mental shriek, a storm of rage and fear, their questions now intertwining with your own racing thoughts, amplifying the profound implications of your discovery. What would you do with such dominion? Would you enslave these very spirits? Would you reshape worlds? Would you bend all to your will? The power was undeniably yours, but what kind of architect would you become? You pondered the monumental choices that lay before you. Would you use this power to guide humanity towards a new golden age? To subtly nudge the currents of history, correcting past mistakes, preventing future calamities, all from the hidden vantage point of true power? Would you become a benevolent, unseen guardian, shaping destiny for the collective good even if your hand was never known, content in the quiet knowledge of your unseen influence? Or would your instinct be to secure your own return to your time? To bend the very laws of reality, unravel your displacement, reclaim your original existence, perhaps even reshape your own era into something better, something perfect, ensuring your own comfort and security above all else, leaving this ancient world and its powers behind? Or would you succumb to the intoxicating allure of absolute dominion? To impose your will upon the world, becoming a king or a god of a new age, dictating the course of civilization, bending all to your every whim, fulfilling your deepest, most primal desires for control, regardless of the cost to others, forging a new empire built on supernatural might. The weight of these choices pressed down on you, profound and inescapable. The Ring of Solomon thrummed, a silent promise awaiting your first true command. Suddenly, with a violent, impossible jerk, the world dissolved. The subterranean chamber, the echoing voices of the jinn, the very sensation of the ring in your hand, all evaporated in a flash of disorienting white. The hum of your pocket watch screamed, vibrating intensely, pulling you, not back through time but back to where you belonged. You were there again. In the familiar yet now strangely mundane reality of your own time. The scents, the sounds, the very air were instantly recognizable, yet felt muted, dull, after the vivid intensity of ancient Jerusalem. The ring was no longer in your hand, but the profound knowledge, the terrifying awareness of its power, and the choices it demanded, were indelibly seared into your mind. You had touched ultimate dominion, and though the artifact itself was gone, its implications, its psychological burden, would forever define you. The chrononaut had found the key to absolute will, and now, the true journey of its understanding began within. You have now reached one of possible endings in our story. Thank you for watching, and for your dedication to this journey. I am truly grateful for you taking the time to experience this creative hobby of mine. If you enjoyed the story and the concept, it would mean the world to me if you would consider subscribing to the channel. With a simple click, you can contribute a great deal to helping this project grow. The path you took was just one of many. I encourage you to go back and explore all the other choices to uncover different endings and experiences. I wish you well on your own journey, and I hope you learned something new and took some knowledge from these stories. Thank you.